Okay, there we go. So let's go back to sharing the screen.
You are very good, Mike. Thank you very much.
Hoping this is working. Right. Okay, so we're back again now. Thanks. Okay, sorry about that.
Ah, it's all right. There we go. So we can go on to the next slide after we've had a quick resume of what's coming up.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're working towards reopening. Some's happened already, but the top priority is COVID safety, and it's everyone's responsibility. And I appreciate that everybody's having one jab, two jabs, maybe no jabs, but there is a real mix of people around and about, and we've just got to be very cautious that people contact is the spreaders. So we've just got to remember hands, sanitize all the stations, still doing temperature check-ins and maintaining distances. And I'm a bit super paranoid about this because I've had one jab and I'm very lucky and very grateful. Thank you very much, everybody, for the one jab that I've had, but I still don't feel like I'm letting my guard down. So please just remember that this is everybody's responsibility. We've done loads and loads of prep of rolling stock. Full credit, massive credit to the TNRS team because they've been doing really, really good work getting number 9 ready, City of Wells ready. We've got a fleet there ready to go and we're almost there, but not quite. Also the track relay Alderbottom, and we've also got issues with Bury South Curve that we know about, but actually are monitoring as an ongoing basis, and also with Chest Wheel. And I'm sure the majority of you will have seen a video of, I think it was about the 6th of October last year when the, well, it rained a bit. And the impact that that had on Chest Wheel, and actually how we've actually changed how we manage the drainage. We've done loads of work on drainage, and actually we understand, thanks to the brilliant work of our resident geologist, we understand what's going on at Chest Wheel, and with a degree of confidence we're having it examined and we're monitoring the situation there. So we now know what is going on, and with a degree of confidence we can say, look, we know what's going on at Chest Wheel. We didn't this time last year, we do now. There's been loads of work prepping and painting stations, benches, toilets, absolutely loads of work. It's been fantastic, and it does look markedly sharper, more presentable, more professional. There's been some canopy work at Bury. I hope you've all noticed at the end of the platform, on platform 3 and 4, the canopy work's been done. There's been several attempts at the timetable prep. I shall say that no more. We've had some practice trains, and I'm really, really glad we did, because we certainly know how to practice at losing time on timetables. But also, that's highlighted another issue that I'm going to talk about this coming weekend. We've had some exciting day trips out. I would say it's probably the most enjoyable team building exercises I've ever done on collecting fly tipping. Despite the fact that it's a very unpleasant job, it was a fantastic, superhuman effort of shifting other people's rubbish. And in the meantime, we also discovered some very interesting things on the embankments, but it's been a monumental effort. I'm sure it will need redoing every year, but by heck, we look like a different, better place for that happening. And there's been loads of signal and electrical circuit testing, and also really great work on volunteers and competency testing, management, exams, retraining and refreshers, and also the MICs through the winter. So there's been some massive work, and I hope you appreciate that it does look like, woo, we've got a fresh face on. So brilliant. Next slide, Mike. The financial performance for 2021 year to date. Now, Kath can't be with us tonight, so you've got me. So if you've got any really in-depth, detailed questions, I'll have to take them away and talk to Kath about them. But of course, we've been shut. We have been shut up until the 1st of May, which is Saturday. So there's absolutely limited revenue. We've had sales or products on sale, such as Scotsman, even though that changed, Halloween, Dining with Distinction, and the advanced sales on those have been really strong. I mean, who'd have ever thought that we'd have sold nearly £20,000 worth of Halloween tickets in April? Wow, brilliant. The cash flow prediction for the end of 2021 is in a positive position. And that's assuming that the revenues hold up. So I think it's going to be a strong staycation year for home tourism. I mean, certainly I'm staying on, having my holidays in the UK this year. I don't think many people will be going away anywhere. So we're hoping for a very positive revenue position for the end of the year. But that said, we've also got to understand that that has been supported massively by the pursuit of grant funding. And also it's been supported by the staff's ability to take on flexible furlough. So that has worked really, really well in the fact that we can cover some part of the employment costs, but also still get the flexibility to draw people in for essential jobs. Okay, next slide, please.
Can you see it?
No, we're still on financial performance,
Oh,
but I don't mind.
it says grants and funding on my screen. Oh, let me go back and try again. No. I'll stop the share and I'll start again. I had this problem earlier on when I was showing a video, but I'll try sharing the screen again. How's that? No. Hello.
Hello, it says Michael Moore is started screen sharing, but there's no screen share.
On my screen it says it is sharing, so I don't know what to do next now.
I can give you a verbal update if
I'll
that's
close PowerPoint down completely and stop the screen share and start again. Okay, so right, let me start the screen share. What can you see now, Tracy?
I can see Michael Moore has started screen sharing. Oh, yes, woohoo!
It's there, is it?
Yeah, it's there. You'll
Is that
get a job
right,
as an IT professional, Mike. Brilliant.
I used to be. I'm a bit rusty at the moment. So can you see restoration now? Is that the right one?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
infrastructure
it should be
restoration. I think
future
it's meant to be
funding.
grants next, but
Should it not be future grants? There we go. How about that? Is that grants?
grants. Right, so since our last presentation, we've got further grant award funding. Cultural Recovery Fund round 2 is £100,000 awarded. Bury Council £4,714. Rosendale Council £25,000. And that brings the total award of grant funding since the start of the COVID pandemic to £1,043,025, which I think it's a monumental place to be, but also certainly we've learnt the art of grant funding, writing preparation and the work that goes into it, but it's been a monumental effort on everybody's part to produce that, and particularly for the partners that have supported and awarded those grants. Donations, well, raffle, I have to say this is a little gem. This is 3 raffles and £12,000 coming on that one. Ginty Just Giving page, that's currently active and that's got £2,380 in. And this brings the total awarded on major donations since the start of the pandemic to £290,380, which is a massive amount of money. So thank you so much for everybody's contribution and support on those. Next slide. Hey, right then, 12th of April, massive step forward. I think we're all gasping to go to the pub. I certainly was. It took me a week and a half, though, to walk to my local pub because it's a mile away. But not that that's anything to do with reflection of my exercise. The first week of reopening of our pubs was, well, to say that demand was strong was the understatement. It's table service only, outdoor, and it was a very, very positive week. The issue is managing the demand and understanding that demand. And I think we've learned lessons from that. We have achieved a small surplus on that week. And you may think, why when it was so busy? And that is because literally the volume of people coming through the door, all having to be table service, means that the staffing cost is really high. So it's positive news in the fact that we're reopen. And we are taking big steps in that. Love it. Loved going to the pub. It's nice to be out. It's nice to be seeing people. And we've been massively supported by our employees and also volunteers in supporting that operation, which has been monumental. So thank you very much indeed, everybody on that one. I do believe it is the 17th of May when indoor opening can happen if all goes to plan on the restrictions easing. So we've got a little bit of a way to go there, but massive first few weeks in the pub. Thank you.
You want to move on?
Yes, please. Right, future funding. Right, the financial pressure is for us to rebuild our position. We all understand and know that we've taken a massive step back in the past year. So we've actually got to rebuild that position. And in the long term, we've got to pay off loans and supported funding from just short of, just over £1 million. And that includes the losses of £810,000 made in 2020. Now, you may think, why on earth is that so massive? And the top and bottom answer is that advanced bookings is the way that the world has gone these days, including heritage railways. And in refunds on advanced bookings, we've had to refund in the region of £1.2 million worth. So that's where that situation becomes such a massive number. We're actually adjusting our financial forecast to 50% less in revenues. We've reduced costs and are still doing so by 20 or 30%. And we consistently keep applying for grants. We've done one this week and fingers crossed for that coming through. We've become working with the Preservation Society for future funding appeals is a massive bonus for us. And it's really positive news and energy about how we can work together on fundraising schemes, appeals, and also getting some professional guidance on how we manage fundraising, because we've learned in the last year the art of applying for grants, but there is loads more out there to be had if you know the ins and outs of every funding stream. We've still got the massive task of maintaining infrastructure, traction and rolling stock in a good condition, fit for purpose and fit for 2022, never mind 2021. As much money as we can make, infrastructure can spend it and traction and rolling stock can spend it. So there is like, if you've ever win the lottery and you fancy somewhere to invest some money, traction and rolling stock and infrastructure can spend it. It's just how we manage that, so it's controlled, manageable, and we can still afford to restructure our finances for the next 5 years. There's also a massive piece to do on customer confidence, and I think if you've been around Bury Town Centre in the last fortnight, you'll have noticed that it feels like everybody is out round Bury Market, and the customer confidence there has really ramped up in the last fortnight. I think there's still some work to be done on indoor attractions and also how we rebuild group visits. They're a massive contributor and they're actually not as prevalent as they were, purely because of social distancing and actually how that's affected the group's market. So there is an element of building customer confidence. And we've also got a big challenge on recruiting. I'm really sorry, but I've just got a little pop-up that's popped up in front of my in how we recruit volunteers to actually fill that next generation coming on, keep on those skills going, trained for the next people that we need to be in to understand how we work, how steam locomotives work, how heritage skills can provide them with employment as well. So we've got a massive challenge on there. Next slide, Mike. Bear with me. I'll just get rid of that. Infrastructure and restoration. A locomotive and carriage restoration has had to take a break. It's taken a year off. And the fastest way for things to go backwards is to not do anything. So we need to actually not only recover that time, but understand how we can fund those capital repairs to maintain our locomotives and our carriage fleet for the future. Maintenance and certification has proved tricky, and especially to keep rolling stock serviceable, the full fleet, it all requires a great amount of care and attention for that to be put in to maintain the certification and people's competencies. So with limited resources and the ability to generate money, we've had to go for third-party income, and that includes contract work for other organisations, as well as you have all seen Linsinger's rail milling machine, which actually our business model had to change overnight from a customer focused attraction to actually something that's bringing in revenue. So there's a constant demand on the infrastructure for tracks, signalling, buildings, all of that requires great amount of planning, and also we've got Ramsbottom level crossing to do, we've got Bury South Curve to look at, and then in the long term we're going to have to look at Chest Wheel and how we manage that going forward. And then also we've got this challenge of the loss of senior members of the ELR team that have decided for COVID, or the fact that they just want to retire, they've had a year off and can't face coming back, that have decided that they're going to retire or take a break from actually volunteering. And I can completely understand that. If you imagine getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go and fire a steam locomotive and you've had a year off, it's going to take some energy and some inner fight to get up and do it again. But that's another risk and another factor that we've got to counter in on why things become tricky, more difficult to manage, and massively appreciate their long service and contribution. Next slide, please, Mike. Bury Transport Museum. Well, they've actually been shut the longest, and we're due to open on the 22nd of May. There's been preparations going on every weekend with cleaning, displays, people getting exhibits ready. And also there's some exciting development plans for Bury Transport Museum in the long term. One of the massive things that we're very keen that we do is that becomes an accredited museum. And the accreditation process, it's quite thorough, which it should be. But we've got to work towards that, and we're going to take bite-sized chunks out of how we do that. We've had some extensive repairs to the roof. We've also had a really good look round at what we're doing in there and what actually we can do in terms of extra revenue, learning and development opportunities. And it's really exciting how we can take the Transport Museum forward, because I'm going to be the champion of this, and I'm going to make sure that you can see that Bury Transport Museum is there from that top road. So we'll take it forward from there. Next slide, please, Mike. So what's coming up? 1st of May, reopening to public passenger trains. But, you know, we had a practice weekend last weekend. Well, I'm really glad we did, because what is highlighted is that we have an issue with accelerated tyre wear on steam locomotives, the heavy, including some of the diesels as well. But we haven't been able to identify where this is being caused by. We've run test trains this week. but we haven't been able to pinpoint where this is occurring. And the only thing that's changed is the track relay between Ramsbottom and Rottenstall. So for the air of caution, there is a grinding machine coming in next week, and that will actually grind the full length of the railway, but with a focus on that particular section. So this weekend, we have revised the timetable, and unfortunately, it's 30 years since we've run trains to Rottenstall, and we're not going to run trains to Rottenstall. We're going to run the steam service Hayward Ramsbottom. So the timetable is all going to be available, and it is going to be amended, but that is purely for the grounds of we are protecting what we absolutely cherish the most, which is our engines. So that's the top and bottom of this weekend. We reopen, and we are reopening to public passenger trains, but it will be an amended service running between Ramsbottom and Hayward. I'm more than happy to take questions at the end of the presentation about that, and we can expand further, but I've given you the warts and all detail of why we're actually doing that and why that decision has been taken. 22nd of May, Bury Transport Museum opens to the public. Yeah, it's been shut the longest. 21st of May, I think it's the Friday evening, we've got the first of the dining trains, all socially distanced still. But for the Bury Transport Museum opening, I have to say a massive thank you for Transport for Greater Manchester, who are providing not only hand sanitisers, barriers, but surface markings, one-way systems, planning. They've gone a massive, massive effort into making that open for the public. So a massive thank you to them. 29th of May to the 6th of June, it's Union of South Africa Week. Now, who's pant-wettingly excited about that? I think we all are, because last Saturday we all had a treat when we actually saw Union of South Africa out on a freight train. What a weekend for a practice weekend. Fingers crossed that that'll happen. And then 21st of June, which is the longest day, social distancing is supposed to be relaxed and removed. I will wait and see. So I'm not holding my breath, but that is the said date. 1st to the 3rd of July is the Diesel Gala. And in between that, we've got a web redesign project, which should, well, it should have given birth by then. So that's hopefully early June. And we're also progressing towards Hopside e-cards. I hope you've all seen, done, or whatever else. And Tracy's brand of Hopside e-cards is, I'm going to get an East Lancs Railway lanyard for anybody that wants one. We're nicely branded in a nice maroon colour, and it can all be pulled off. So that's a resume of what's happening, where we are, what's happening this weekend. And I have to say a massive thank you for all your attention, support, your encouragement, and your actually returning to training and getting ready for this reopening, because it is a massive monumental effort and it's down to everybody's contribution. So, any questions?
Tracy, it's Keith Simpson. Can I ask a quick question?
Of course you can.
When you say this weekend for the revised timetable, does that include Bank Holiday Monday?
It does, yes.
Thank you.
Right. Thanks. That question came in very quickly. Before you put any particular question to Tracy, it would be very helpful if you could either do them through chat or raise your hand. But the problem is there are about 100 people here and I can only see 25 on my screen at any one time. So if you've got a question, chat is the best way to attract my attention, just to say to me you've got a question so I can call you up, or to actually write the question down. I am recording this and there will be a text version of this presentation available in the next couple of days as soon as I've managed to transcribe it. The whole presentation will be available on YouTube probably early tomorrow morning. When I've managed to upload it to my YouTube channel, I will put it out on Hops so people will be able to watch it if they're not here this evening, or if you want to watch it again. I'm sure Tracy wants to watch her performance and check on how well she's done. But
my haircut first next
many
time.
Thanks, Tracy. I know your hair looks good. Don't worry about that. So thanks very much. So I've got nothing coming through on my chat about questions. I can't see any hands. There must be some questions somewhere. Tracy's got a question. Go on, Tracy.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify. The reason why I said Ramsbottom Haywood is because that's where the diesel service and the steam service will be running this weekend. But there will be a DMU shuttling between Ramsbottom and Rottenstall at reduced speed over the affected section, but that will be there. But I'm not going to blout to the world that that's running because we've only got 30 seats available. But if anybody wants to travel from Ramsbottom to Rottenstall, they can. So that is still in the operation. It's just 30 seats. That's your lot.
We've had a question popped up about buffet cars on the trains, Tracy. Have we got any thoughts about when they'll be coming back into operation?
Well, I think buffet cars will be coming into operation as soon as we can guarantee that we can deliver a socially distanced and COVID safe operation. So as soon as we can do that, we can do them.
Good. Any other questions from anybody about this weekend? Yes, Steve Hamlet. Thanks, Steve. You have to unmute yourself, Steve.
Tracy.
Hello.
My next door neighbour's son has just come back from New Zealand where he'd been working in the hospitality industry. Who should he contact regarding bar staff in, say, the trackside?
As in employment?
Yes.
There's currently an advert out, I do believe, on Facebook regarding opportunities at the trackside. So I think it's already out there.
Okay. I'll let him know.
Thank you.
Tracy, Andrew Mitchell has written a question in the chat. How does refunding over £1 million of advanced sales create a loss, as they should be accrued and not recognised as income until the event has occurred?
Yeah, I think this all goes down to cash flow, and I think everybody understands that cash is king. And literally, if you've got money in, it doesn't sit there waiting until it's the month that it's delivered that it's actually accounted for. But in terms of how that is actually taken back out of the business as a refund, wow, it has a massive impact on us. So another factor is that we do our ticketing through Key Tickets. Key Tickets are a wonderful organisation. They're a charity themselves, and it's their trading arm that does this. But they also require, before we put on an event, a chunk of money to be put away in case of refunds. So the actual situation for cash is the critical factor. And that's what really we're juggling all the time. So if you imagine buying a diner ticket now for 2020, is that cash going to be locked away for the next year and a half? No, because that's available cash that can be used in the business.
Okay. Thanks, Tracy. I've got a number of other questions which have come through on chat. Ray Frew wants to know when this weekend's timetable will be on the hops.
I do believe it's on there now. It was produced this morning.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ink is still wet, and I answered the question underneath on chat.
Thank you, Rory, because you did an amazing job in turning that round in what felt like.
It is on hops. I've got a copy here.
Oh, right, I must have. Oh, yeah, I see. When Roy just said it's on, I didn't realise he was talking that because another question came in between on my screen anyway about the buffet car, so I got a bit confused then. Thanks for that, Rory. Questions coming through now. Daniel Threadgold wants to know how are the upgrades for Rottenstall going? Where are they up to? Anything happening?
Upgrades for Rotten. Well, they had a new cleaner last Sunday, but apart from that, Rottenstall is very much look, we could do work, but it's not the priority job at the moment. It's correcting a year's worth of interruption. That's the priority job. The further building work won't take a step further forward, likely or unlikely, until we get some progress with the building. So
Fine. Okay, thank you.
It could be a while yet. We've made a material start.
Right. Alexander, I don't know his surname because it doesn't show on my screen. When do you think FXPs might start up again?
FXPs, as soon as we actually get a position where we can deliver a COVID safe operation. And believe it or not, the ORR are red hot on this one, that they don't actually want footplate people on until we're in a position where either social distancing's gone or everybody's immunity and vaccinations up to. So I think we've got a way to go yet. And before we start doing that, we also need to catch up on the training of people who are cleaners or coming through the ranks. So I think they'd take priority really over footplate experienced people, because they've been waiting very patiently. And once you've had a stall in your training, it'll take you a wee while for you to get back up to the level that you were at before.
I do apologise. Alexander's name I didn't recognise. If you'd have said it's Alex, I would have understood. It's Alex Karimi from Switzerland. I presume that's where he is this evening. So apologies, Alex. I didn't realise.
No, that's all right.
Yes, David managed to point it out to me. Thank you, David. Any other questions on the presentation this evening? I've got something showing on my chat. What does it say? Oh, that's just that comment from David. I have previously had a few questions that come in, and I will show them on chat so that you can see what they came. The first one was from Graham Law. It's quite a long one, but I will put it on to chat so you can all read it if you want to do so. To everyone. So the question, I will read it through.
Good grief.
Yes, it's quite a long one. I did send it to you earlier on, Tracy. I think Jeff's going to have a go at this one. About communication.
Good on you, Jeff.
Between stations and other departments. And there is an example about a problem last Saturday when there was some confusion about the timing of the last train. And actually, Graham Law went home from his post at Rottenstall, and then a train turned up after he left because it had been misunderstood. So I don't know whether it's something that Jeff can comment on.
Yeah, just first of all, Mike, I'd just like to say, obviously, the training trains last week were extremely busy. We were training lots of guards, lots of drivers, lots of station staff. Things were running late. The station at Bury was trying to keep the other stations updated, but it's a two-way thing. I think the stations need to communicate with each other. Obviously, not only the guards and drivers signaling was training, but also the ROs. So all those were under training. We made the decision to try and get back to time by cancelling some trains, which we told Graham about. Unfortunately, the last one, we needed to run up to Rottenstall to get an extra guard, some extra training. So we made the decision to run that one through. But obviously, by that time, Graham had left home. But it certainly wouldn't happen. The bit at the bottom about we certainly wouldn't cancel trains when there's passenger trains running and change it at the last minute and decide to run it through without letting the station staff know. So yes, it was an extremely busy weekend. Communication wasn't great, but I think that was part of the learning.
Thanks, Jeff. Alex had also sent two other questions. One was about social distancing, which I think you've already mentioned, Tracy, in your presentation about you opening June the 21st, was it, that social distancing?
June the 21st is in Boris's COVID relaxation map. However, we still
Alex
got
may
to get...
not know that because he's overseas, but it is the third week of June.
Yeah, it's we've still got to get past the next hurdle, which is the 17th of, I think it's the 17th of...
17th.
Yeah. And his second question, I won't put it on chat because it's a short one. How far is the railway along about putting the rule book onto hops?
Okay, we've got a new rule book being looked at by the heads of departments. That is going to be a rule book that goes onto ops, but that's some time off because the amount of work's involved, not just with that new rule book, but also what's going on at the moment with COVID. What I am happy to do, Alex, is to look at putting the current rule book onto ops. That can be achieved relatively quickly. So if I can, I'll certainly get myself and Rory will look at one day next week, and we'll try and get that current rule book onto ops so people can read it online.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thanks,
Alex.
Yep, thank you.
The next question from Steve Brown is a long question, but I think it's a very short answer. It's a question about the cable fault between Bury and Ramsbottom.
Yeah, I've read the question. I think Steve's on actually, but I've read the question. Obviously, whatever we do on this railway, we do safely, and we would never do anything that's unsafe. Parkland working is a safe method of working. It's not ideal because we get delay, but there is nothing wrong with working in a degraded mode, providing everyone are fully aware of what's happening. In regards to the timescale for repairs, I was hoping it'd be done for this weekend. Unfortunately, we've had problems trying to get the cable. We've had problems with the digger, but the cable will be restored as soon as possible. In regards to is the ORR happy with this ongoing situation? I don't think it's an issue for the ORR. You know, this is a method of working. It's an agreed method of working, and it's a safe method of working.
Did you get me a message?
Sorry, who was that? I can't see who was speaking then.
I think it was Mike on the telephone. Mike.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
So it's not a situation that we need to inform the ORR. It's a safe method of working, and rest assured we would not do anything on this railway if it is not safe.
Okay, thanks. The next question is from Andy Cooper of Signal Ops, and it's in 5 parts, and the first 2 or 3 are rather short. What are the plans for the pubs going into the future? Are there any plans to reinstate the catering? That's actually 2 questions, really.
The top and bottom answer of pubs going into the future is yes, pubs will be going into the future, and catering, there is nobody that likes their grub more than me. Please realise that without Olives being open down the high street, I was getting on the edge of possibly losing some weight, but yes, it's a priority. This weekend, we have a very, very, very kind offer from Sean. If anybody who's on footplate or early starts wants any food, Sean's going to be the runner, and he will actually provide breakfast. That's not a long-term solution. The long-term solution is to provide food in there, and we will endeavour to do so because I totally understand we need feeding. It's just we are trying to get ourselves back up out of a hole and get running, but we need to feed people.
Thanks, Tracy. The third question from Andy, the pubs are not open until 12 noon. This has been a source of frustration for visitors turning up for a quick one before the midday trains. Are there any plans to open at 11 a.m., especially on event days such as diesel galas where there is a proven market?
Well, I think that's, look, we've literally just got the pubs up and running, and the ask at the moment on a very, it's a very difficult task doing all table service, and the actual pressure within the staff within the pubs department, there's no intention of us extending the hours while we're currently doing an at-seat service. However, the long term, we've got much more options, especially when we can either do bottle bars or normal indoor service. So I think that comes as and when the restrictions are eased. But at this moment in time, it's hard enough job doing 12 till 11.
Thanks, Tracy. Andy, obviously, although he works in the solitary confines of a signal box, he's very concerned about the pubs. He's heard a rumour of being discussed amongst the pub customers that we may have some sort of tie-up with Green King, one of the brewers, I think one of the big brewers, and he is quite concerned that we retain our independence for local and use of local micro pubs, such as Bruce Smith, Brightside and Northern Worcester. Is there any thoughts gone into this, or you don't know?
Provide you with categoric reassurance. We are a free house and we are not tied into any large beverage brewing organisation. So I don't know where that's come from, but absolutely definitely not, because I'd rather drink my own.
On a not on different topic, apparently we're in the good beer guide and only can be there if we've got evidence of good guarantee of good quality beer, and which requires continuity of Cellarman, and obviously Tim's left recently. Are we getting on for a replacement? I think his question basically.
I don't think that's actually any discussion point for the open forum, to be honest, because I think we've still got issues to deal with there. The top and bottom of it is the good beer guide is all scattered all over the place, because how can you have a good beer guide when the pubs haven't been open for such a long period of time? So I think really it needs to go back to the drawing board as a good beer guide and assess what people can deliver, because we're open, whereas there's an awful lot of good pubs. My local in my village isn't open, so I have to walk another mile. Look, it's the good beer guide needs to sort themselves out and relook at how they do it, because I can't give the answers for you on that one.
Okay, thanks. Viv Cooper, who I'm assuming is connected with Andy Cooper because it came in the same email, has put up questions about the museum. When it opens, will it be Wednesday to Sunday or just weekends?
It'll be just weekends initially until we start running the midweek timetable. And then it'll follow the midweek timetable for midweeks.
Fine. Second question, there's a lot of effort going into promoting the shop, etc. The museum always seems to be forgotten. Can some effort be put towards promoting it and upgrading the entrance and signage as a start?
I think this is on Tracy's mission list. First of all, I would really like some massive big banners hung on the hooks on the outside wall that's saying Bury Transport Museum open for business. I've been pursuing the 2 poster boards outside Bolton Street on the corner, but I can't afford them, but I would love them if I could. And I've also got banners, they're in production, hanging banners as soon as I get the graphic artwork for those. But also there's loads of activity that we can do in and around town to make sure that people are aware. It's raising that awareness, the profile Bury Transport Museum. And I've delivered Martin a gift this week. Granted, it's only got 2 screens at the moment, but we have a little digital screen now in the information office window. When we get it finally positioned, it'll be even better and finally programmed. But that is literally going to be on 24/7, and it will flick round with images of what events are coming up, where things are happening, and also get your butt over the road to the Transport Museum. So that's going to be on there and available 24/7. So I think we've got loads to do. I can't afford the poster boards at the rate that they want. If I could nobble them a different way, I would.
Thanks, Tracy. A couple of more come through on chat, and I'm sorry if we're dodging around. It's the way they've come through to me. We're going back to another question from Stephen Brown. How many coaches will be on the steam set this weekend? If the timetable shows the train running into Ramsbottom sidings to recess and run the local time, I don't believe we can accommodate more than 7 in the sidings if this is the case. Is any idea how many carriages are going to be running?
We've got 7 carriages on it. That'll be something that we'll look at, but there's 7 carriages on.
Yeah.
Jeff, just a point. That's a fair good point Steve's raised. You'll only run around 6 vehicles in Ramsbottom sidings.
Yeah. So we'll make some arrangements and we'll swap the
No, you won't, because you won't reduce capacity.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Martin saying he can't afford to lose any capacity because he sold all the tickets.
Well, we'll have a look what can be done, but something will be done. Don't worry about it. We've got time.
You've got about 24 hours, right? Daniel wants permission to take any old posters, out-of-date posters about the ELR, take them down. I don't think there's any problem about that, Tracy.
No, crack on, please.
Yes, if he sees any at all.
And I would really like people to be proactive, because if you see a poster that's out of date, we can't have eyes and ears in everywhere. But the best place to find these is when you sat on the lav and you look up and you think, blimey, when did we last do that? And you're like, oh, so take it down, please get it taken down, and we'll
Which
get it
reminds
replaced
me,
poster.
when I was leaving Hayward Station this afternoon on the corner of Railway Street and whatever the road goes down into Hayward Town, there is a big board with two posters, big posters, which are probably out of date now, and one of them certainly facing the wrong way, because it can only be seen by people leaving Hayward Station rather than the ones coming to it. I don't know who's responsible for those.
I am.
Who's that?
Bob.
Bob. Oh, you are Bob.
And
The
I
ones on the
deliberately
corner of
left them
Railway
up.
Street. You know where I mean?
I deliberately left them up because I've repeatedly been asking for something to put there.
Oh, I can supply you with them.
Well, please.
It's very large, Tracy. It's a really large
Just
one.
something with the
Well, I've
name
got-
on. I realise
This
they're
has
out of
been
date.
a massive bugbear of mine for the 4.5 years I've been here. Those station posters going down the steps at Bury. And I finally got the new posters. So I'll send you some up, Bob. I'll come on a day trip to Heywood.
I've actually got 7 boards empty at the moment,
I'll bring you some, love. I've got
Thank
about
you.
60.
but the signs that are on the gate, I've done because I didn't have anything. I've just invented some signs to put on the gate.
I'll bring you some up.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Will the transport museum-
Mike,
Sorry.
come back in. I've just spoke with Rory.
Yes,
And
yeah.
the plan in regards for the steam set is to run round in the platform at Ramsbottom and propel back into the sidings. It can't stay in the platform, so that's the plan. So we'll get an engine, providing we run round first, we can then push back in the sidings. So that's been sorted.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I may be wrong, but in my experience, I've never seen a train run round in Ramsbottom. It's always gone into. Okay, maybe possible. I'm not.
It's certainly possible to run round in the platform.
Yeah.
What we've got to do at the end of it, we've got to get it into the sidings, because we've got to get the DMU in and the diesel to run round as well. So that's the reason behind it. But
Okay.
I've spoke with Rory, and that's already been looked at.
Okay. Thanks
Thanks,
for that,
Rory.
Rory. Will the Transport Museum be promoted outside of Bury, like in Ramsbottom and Rossendale? I don't know whether there's any adverts for the Transport Museum up the line anywhere.
We can advertise it anywhere we like, but the issue is it's a coordinated approach, and it all needs to come together with the opening. So let's get open. Let's get the banners for Bury sorted out. Let's understand how people transition from the front of the station through the gate, which looks like a secret, if you ask me, into the Transport Museum, and then we can widen out the scope. But at this moment in time, Kath won't let me have a free spend on doing PR across the place. But certainly there's a project going on with the ELR Trust as well, and Marketing Lancashire, about the wider visitor experience and destination marketing for Ramsbottom, Rottenstall and Bury and Heywood. So loads of scope to be involved in that. And we've got some fantastic photography in the Transport Museum last weekend for the new website.
Yeah, good. Daniel Threadgold's come back again, and I quite agree with him. There are still some buses running around the area with adverts for our past events on.
Yeah, I saw a Santa bus the other day.
Yes. Can we have something done about it? I don't know who would be responsible for that now. Yeah.
Well, apart from contacting the advertising agency that put it up there and saying,
Yeah.
please take them down.
They ought to do, really. I appear to have missed a comment or a question from Jim Chu earlier on. I'm trying to find it now. Or was it? Right. Jim said operating buffet trolleys on the train would not be a health and safety issue. Also using 16-year-olds on the buffets, they would not be able to sell alcohol. have we got plans to use trolleys on the train or the buffet itself?
Use trolleys or whether we do the buffet, it all comes down to having the risk assessment for the operation. And I appreciate trolleys are a pain in the backside for people to get past and go to the loo and everything else, but it all comes down to the risk assessment. So that's the top and bottom of the exit. We're not going to do it if it's not been risk assessed.
Right.
No 16-year-olds in a buffet either.
Sorry, Julie, say that again.
There is no 16-year-olds in a buffet.
No, not serving there, no, right. James B. I don't know what James B stands for. Is there any update on the moves towards prosecuting or retrieving costs from the vast amount of residents along the Broadfield section who've dumped the garbage over our land? And did Rochdale Council come forward with any more support on that matter?
Rochdale Council and Bury Council have been really supportive about it. Letters have gone out. There have been mixed responses, as you can imagine, but I do not have a definitive answer of whether we've actually recovered any of the money.
Mike wants to say something. You want to unmute, Mike? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we did take a couple of councillors on the train that I was on. Unfortunately, the ward councillors, the areas where the main fly tipping on the Darnell estate couldn't make the train. We didn't quite get there. I had a long chat with Councillor Ray Dutton, who's a very senior member of Rochdale Council. His intention was to try and get the council to pay for our costs of disposal. I'm not holding my breath though. I think this will just, well, I take the view it might just quieten down because the officer from the environmental services was invited and opted not to travel. But I think we just have to wait and see as to whether the council, Rochdale, will come through. I think as far as Bury is concerned, Jeff Armstrong can confirm this, we have had offers from local litter picking teams in Bury to clear the section that's actually in Bury from the Bury to Harewood section. I think Jeff will confirm that. I'm not expecting, I haven't heard anything that Bury will pick up a bill if we send them one. I know bills have been sent to 2 properties, and the issue then becomes whether we're prepared to pursue it all the way to the small claims court. I know Jeff's a bit of an expert on that, so perhaps you can comment on that as well.
Yeah, the option we've got is to take the people to a small claims court. But what we've got to be certain is that we're actually targeting the right people. The one we had last week, a couple of weekends ago, where we found the shotguns and the machete, we actually found some names and addresses. So that would be relatively easy to prove in a court. It's a different standard of proof. It's on the balance of probability. So providing the district judge believes what we're saying, we probably would win that case. That still doesn't mean the people pay up. And that's a difficult bit because you then have to send bailiffs in. And do we really want to send bailiffs into a family? Maybe the letters that we've sent out may just stop it for a bit. But what we did find last week, not last week, the weekend before, the house that did the majority of the fly tipping had a gate in the fence. So that's got to be nailed up at some point because they've actually got a gate so they can come onto the embankment. So that will be sorted. But yeah, it is difficult.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Right, there's been a number of other comments about fundraising, and I'd like to respond to one from James Bottomley, who made a comment in chat, if anybody's read it. He doesn't think tacky donation buckets really entice people to donate in the 21st century. Well, I can only tell him, and I'm sure Keith Williams agree with me, last autumn when he and I were the only TTIs operating, we took buckets round and each of us raised best part of £200 each day that we did it. The bucket collection was very good. Since then, of course, everybody has moved to paying everything by credit card. And I, for one, don't carry any cash around with me at all. So I'm expecting our passengers to be in the same sort of boat. Mike wants to come in with a comment.
What we've been looking at and exploring, and again, if you might add to this, we are looking at donation machines on platforms where you just present your credit card, type in the amount you want to donate. I think the first one that's going to be installed, it'll be in the Bury Transport Museum. And I think there's room for everything. I mean, I think I do accept in large measure the younger generation tend not to carry any coins or certainly not paper money. And I think we've got to explore what opportunities there are for impulse donations. I think that's what these donation machines are for. They're very simple to use. And we are looking at that as a second generation way of raising funds from people who carry cards and are used to cards, they're used to mobile phones, presenting the mobile phone to the machine. And I think it is part of the future of our ability to secure donations in a digital world.
I am Mike. Yeah, that's
James.
the exact point I made that Mike Moore didn't read out. It was a suggestion of we need some digital donation points at every station. The bit about the tacky buckets was just on the end. But yeah, we need some digital points because everyone has a card. Not many people have cash these days.
That's right, James. I can add to that. I'm sure that many people who are on tonight are users of Amazon. I certainly do. I buy 3 or 4 items a month from Amazon of varying prices. And if you log in to smile.amazon.co.uk, then you can opt into making a donation to the East Lancs Railway. Very simple. And it's 0.5%, which is 50 pence per £100. Doesn't sound very much, but some people spend a lot of money on Amazon on various things. They buy a lot of their food, and you can buy almost anything that you want on Amazon and have it delivered usually the next day. And if you are regularly into using Amazon, please don't waste this opportunity to donate money to the railway. 50 pence per £100 builds up if hundreds of people are doing it. And it's not been mentioned anywhere by anybody tonight, but it is another way of donating to the railway, as well as the raffle, which is runs out this week. I think, Tracy, I think the end of this week, there's the raffle moves on to whatever's next. It's for a couple of dining seats at the moment.
Mike, can I just come in quickly?
Yes, Keith.
Total that we raised between us was £991 in October. And don't forget, Sean also put his oar in. And all we did was go around asking for people for any spare change.
Yeah.
We've got an awful lot of small change to count, but we raised £991. That, of course, includes the one you got of £100. Yeah,
I did have a £100 donation from one person. So it was well worthwhile. I felt really enthused by that, and it was a great person who donated it. Mark Hill has put onto chat how to donate to Amazon directly to the ELR, but it's very easy doing it through Amazon themselves, because they just ask you to give a few letters out of the charity you want to donate to, and it pops up with East Lancs Railway. So it's not difficult at all to do it. And all of my family are involved in that. If they buy anything on Amazon, it comes to the railway, or a small part.
Mike, Tracy wants to speak.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Tracy.
In terms of fundraising, I promised Nigel Shaw about 18 months ago that we would start a cat fund. Now, there's one particular box as you go into Bury Bolton Street Station that I am going to nobble and brand up with the 2 cats on. And my mission is to get a juicy amount of money, not as much as the raffle, but for the cat funds. And I've promised it to Nigel. One day they're going to get their own Facebook profile, but I am a sucker for a cat. I have to say, if anybody knows, I just love my pussies. So if that don't bring in a load of money, I will stand naked in the front of Bolton Street shop window.
Tracy, it's 3 cats now.
How do you mean you've got 3 cats?
We've got a tomcat now.
Have you? Have
Yeah.
we got any Litlands?
We'll have soon.
Oh, I need a photograph of it, Lee. Please, will you get me a photograph tomorrow?
Okay.
Thank you.
Tracy, just make sure you don't stand naked anywhere. I'll donate you £50.
Yeah, you see? Told you. Thank you very much.
Let's give you a check tomorrow.
A couple of more questions have popped up on my chat screen. The first one will be for Tracy and the second one will be for Jeff, I think. The first one, has the work with the Young Volunteers group also been put back because of COVID? Is there anything happening about the Young Volunteers?
Absolutely, definitely. And yeah, it's been put back while we get through the COVID situation, but also I think it's hard enough for kids going to school nowadays, let alone mixing in other areas and other groups as well. So as soon as we get out of social distancing, the youth group and other activities will come forward. Funnily enough, I was in a Bury Town Centre meeting today and the vicar from Bury Church was on the call and said, it's such a shame that there isn't anywhere for young people to go rather than the back of my house to do drugs and alcohol. And I was like, hello? Grant opportunity there.
Okay. Dodging around. Sorry, somebody coming in? No.
Can I just come back briefly to the running the trains at the weekend? Is it worth?
Yes, Graham, I've got one more question on that. But you go ahead, Graham.
Is it worth selling tickets at Rottenstall if there's only going to be a DMU running?
I don't know who's going to answer that question. I certainly wouldn't be able to. I'm selling tickets in Bury.
I think, look, there's going to be a service from Rottenstall to Ramsbottom. If anybody wanted to travel on it, there is only going to be a capacity for 30 at most. So, no, I possibly would say no, there isn't. But there is definitely capacity for Ramsbottom to Haywood. So, any further comment from anybody?
Not on that particular matter. But the question that's come through from Brian Mather connected with that, if everybody has to detrain at Rammy to change, how will they arrange social distancing on the platform?
That's been sorted by Richard. So that's in hand. We're going to allow people to use the overbridge, but they're not going to be allowed to loiter. And as we've already said, the DMU will probably have a maximum of no more than 30 people on. So it's not as if we've got hundreds of people arriving to get off the DMU to go over to the diesel or the steam. In regards to the other trains arriving, then people will be asked to keep the distance and if need be, go. You know, it's up. At the end of the day, we're in open air. It's not undercover. You know, so yeah, the plan's there, and we'll do our best to make sure we achieve that. Ramsbottom is going to be the key point this weekend. So I know Richard's going to spend most of the weekend at Ramsbottom. I believe Tracy might be there. So we'll manage it as best we can.
Thanks, Jeff. Question for Mike Kelly, coming from Howard Ford. Could he explain the changes to the board where directors serve for 3 years before re-election? Why have the changes been made? And who votes in the re-election process?
Well, it's been a long-standing ambition to change the nature of the board, the mix of board, the different skill sets. And one of the issues that I've been trying to change is if you get on the board, you can stay there for life. I think the only way you can get off the board is either resigning or you do something, some heinous crime. And I think it's important that volunteers can see that the board is trying to be accountable. It is trying to deal with performance management. So as we got charitable status, I took the opportunity to introduce a 3-year term, which is quite normal actually for boards, where a third of the directors are up for re-election every 3 years. And the second part to that is I want to move to a position where each director agrees targets with the board and what they want to achieve, that link to the strategy and the policy and the direction of travel to the board and the company. Re-election will be within the board, whether their other board colleagues vote for them or not, will be within the ELR company's board setting.
So in other words, you could still have a job for life because your peers are voting for you. No, it's not being put out to the membership, for example, of the volunteers or.
We don't have a membership on the.
So you're accountable to yourselves.
Well, you want to see it like that, that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, their peer group will be the board, and introduce a 3-year term. Board members may not support their re-election. That's a factor that didn't exist before.
But you could get rid of people if you needed to by voting them off, I would have thought.
Well, there's always the vote of no confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's in every board situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Howard. I've got one other point at the moment I'd like to raise. You may have noticed that the numbers attending has gone down to 90 from the 99 it reached at the maximum that I saw. That's because there are a couple of important football matches taking place, and some people think that's more interesting than listening to Mike and Tracy and Jeff and me. One such person is Sean Lee, who has asked me to comment and tell everybody and remind everybody that in the shop at Bolton Street this weekend, if you've got your ELR PS membership card, you can get 50% off the marked price of any of the stock on display. Everything's at half price if you've got your card. And further, should you buy any 4 items, the cheapest one would be free. And this is because a lot of the stock is left over from previous Santas and other activities, and we need to convert it into hard cash. So you've got a great bargain if you're on the station at Bury this weekend. If you want to visit the shop, preferably pay with your credit card, and you get a lot of good deals available there. Currently, I have no more questions popping up.
No, but there's plenty of rubber snakes in the shop if anybody wants one.
Are there? Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you could get a nice horse bum bag. Don't ask me why.
Right. Thank you for that, Sarah. Does anybody want any other comments or any questions before I close for this evening? We've had an hour and 20 minutes thereabouts. Steve Hamnett and then Alan Bibby. Steve first, please.
Hi, Mike. I sent you an email about Railcam.
Oh, which is did, Steve. I'm terribly sorry. I've forgotten all about it.
Okay.
I'll try and remember the gist of it.
All right.
Do you want to put it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put it forward. Yeah. I was down in Trenton Gardens 2 weeks ago with my 2 Old English sheepdogs, and they had my East Lancs baseball hat on. And people got chatting to me about the dogs, and one of the guy in particular says to me, East Lancs Railway, why are you not on Railcam? I've done a bit of digging because I subscribe to Railcam. There are 11 other heritage railways on Railcam. Big, small, some I've never heard of before. Just typically, the West Somerset Railway has 7 cameras on it. Neem Valley has 3. Isle of Wight Railway has 2. And you look at the chat on Railcam, and what they're saying is that they're getting more bums on seats now they're on Railcam than they did when it wasn't. They also added security because the Railcams are on. The Railcams are put in for nothing. I can't see it. And he said if people don't see what you've got, they won't come. Now, I also spoke to somebody from the Worth Valley Railway, and they were saying the same. Why are you not on Railcam? It seems a perfect opportunity where we need money to get more people coming by having free cameras showing what we do.
Does the Railcam company put them onto the railway themselves then?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Well, which member of staff would be responsible for some initiative like that? You are, Tracy. Oh, right. Well,
Right, and I'm not going to say this, but I told you so, because within about 3 months of me turning up here, I tripped up and said, right then, I've had a conversation with Railcam, and all hell broke loose about CCTV security, data protection policies, all sorts of stuff. I have revisited in about the last 4 weeks, so we are in discussion, but been there, done that, had the scars, moved on.
If you've ever looked at Railcam, there's no way you can get facial recognition on there. Now, if people are frightened of having the face on Railcam, they're either wanted by the police, they're there because they should be working, the wives don't know they're there, or simply they're afraid of people finding out they play with trains.
Look, I totally get this, and I totally get that the fact that if you are away from where you love going to, it's nice to check in. And I have a quick poke round, some in Austria and some in Norway and various other places, including Wales. And yeah, great, fab. But I did hit a brick wall, and I'm prepared to break down that brick wall and move on from it now.
Well, if anybody,
we will go for it.
here tonight thinks it's a bad idea, speak up, name yourself and shame yourself.
I don't think that's really
no, we don't do that.
We won't take it that way forward, but
we'll leave Tracy to pursue it. But I, for one, think it's a good idea. I'm with you, Steve. I think it's a good idea. And considering the number of cameras there are around the country, everywhere you go, on buses, everywhere else, I can't see that as being a reason for not installing them. There may be other ones. I want to move on. Brian Mather has got a raised hand, and then Andrew Slater, and then Keith Simpson. So, Brian, I can't see your face, but you've got your hand up. Do you want to talk to us?
Yes, please, Michael.
Right.
It's about the Rammy situation again. If we've been selling all line tickets to customers and they all rack up at Ramsbottom wanting to go to Rottenstall, where there's only a reduced DMU service, what we're going to do with them?
well, I think that's where the communications with the people who have booked, because very strongly, I am a great advocate. If you've booked, contact them in advance and make them aware, offer them the opportunity, not that I want to refund because I don't, but offer the opportunity to come a different day when we're running a full service, put the customer in control of their decision of what they're doing that weekend. And I think then we have been fair.
I agree with all of that, Tracy. Is that going to happen before this Saturday?
Yes, it should be in the process of happening right now. As in,
fantastic.
Everybody who is pre-booked should be contacted before they turn up on Saturday and say, look, you've got options, but it's up to them to make the options, and don't turn up and say that, oh, I haven't had the email, because you will have had the email.
Thanks.
That's great. Thanks very much.
Okay, I think, did I say Keith next? Keith Simpson?
Oh, hello. Is the mode of operation available for the weekend timetable?
I just come in on that. We've done the timetable today. Rory's been working extremely hard getting the timetable done.
Thank you.
He's looking at method of ops. That will be put out hopefully tomorrow afternoon. But just give us time. It's been a real difficult week because of what's happened at Alderbottom and what we've needed to do. But we're working as much as we can, and we will have a method of ops out before weekend.
Rory, do you want to comment on that? You got your hand up.
Yeah, two things just on that. The method of operation is actually done. I've sent it to my proofreaders looking for gaffes and errors, like, a steam train being in two places at the same time or something like that. So I usually get someone to have a double check. It's all right. Yeah, just while my hands raised, still short of stewards for this weekend on each day. Every day we're short because we've got 7 on the steam, 6 on the diesel, and we've got the DMU. So I could do with some more volunteers as stewards for each day. If anybody wants to help or put their name down, just email me or go to the department and just volunteer.
Good shout, Rory.
Good, well done, thank you.
Thank you, Rory.
Can I
Keith,
just
does that
ask,
answer your question?
can I just ask, are we having a special fares notice for this weekend? Hello?
Hello?
And we need to know what the special fares are for this weekend. Is it ticket only? Pre-ticket only?
The special fares were for the pre-booked tickets only.
Yeah. So we're
If you
not
turn
opening.
up on the day, it's normal fare.
So we're not opening the ticket offices this weekend.
As far as I understood, the pre-booked tickets were the special fares. After that, it was normal fares.
So we are opening the ticket offices.
That's what I understood.
Yeah.
Right. We could do it notes for guidance then.
Yeah, I think, Bob, what you need to remember, you're getting an extra carriage, aren't you, this weekend? Because the steam is now coming to Awood. So you'll have more capacity on there. So
yeah,
it's all to do with keeping people informed, because although we have pre-booked tickets, we need each station to kind of give each other station the heads up on how many passengers we've got on that particular train.
Yeah,
you can get the information going across the network between Awood, Bury and Ramsbottom, then that'll give us a clue on how many more tickets we might be able to sell.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. We just need to know. That's fine.
Thanks very much for the answer. And with regard to Parliament working between Bury and Ramsbottom, it's a little bit tight for the time there for trains out of section and such like. Of course, the guards will be informing the signalman that the train is complete. That'll be happening as quick as it can, I suppose.
Yes, the I think I'm Parliament for 2 days. Richard is Parliament for the other day. We will remind the guards to tell them as soon as possible.
Thank you very much for your help.
The main thing to remember is let's not rush, because let's make sure we get everything right.
Right.
Running to time is important, but safety must come first.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Andrew Slater has still got his hand raised. Yes, Andrew.
Evening. Yeah, it was about tickets actually. Graham Law mentioned earlier about is he selling tickets or isn't, and then the chap from Haywood as well. Is there, like, if this service between Rottenstall and Ramsbottom is very quiet, why don't we just say, like, you can travel for a donation or something, and just do, like, if you give us a £5 on your card, you can have a trip.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you're travelling Haywood Ramsbottom and you turn up on the day, you pay the normal fare, Haywood Ramsbottom.
No, what I'm talking about, Tracy, is if someone comes to Rottenstall and they see the DMU and if they say they want to go to Ramsbottom, what does Graham or anyone else do then? Could they just say, give him a £5?
Yeah, if there's room on the train, then you can sell the ticket.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to what James was saying as well. Like, someone's got some money in the pocket they want to spend. Be daft not to put it in our bank.
Andrew, as a ticket seller, both on the train and in the booking office, we don't have any facilities or any rights to ask for a donation as payment for a ticket. It's either the cost of a ticket as is written down or not at all. And so at Rottenstall, Graham can sell a ticket to any of the other stations, or whoever's in the booking office can sell a ticket to any other station. But he can't say, give us a £5 and you can have a ride, because the TTI on the train will start querying it then. And other people on the train will say, well, he's only paid a £5. Why have I paid all this money?
Yeah, fair enough. But it just sounded earlier that when Graham asked the question, the answer Graham got was, you're not selling any tickets. But now that seems to be not the case.
I think the problem is, Andy, we don't know how many people will get off at Ramsbottom and decide they want to go to Rottenstall. We're hoping that most people who get off at Ramsbottom will stay at Ramsbottom to watch the locomotives running round. They'll see more trains at Ramsbottom. So we're hoping that the majority of people will be thinking, oh, actually, the best place today is to stay here at Ramsbottom because we can see the diesel running round, we can see the steam running round. Because after all, the majority of people that go to Rottenstall, other than going out into the town and into the pub, actually enjoy watching the train run round at Rottenstall. So we're hoping they'll do that at Ramsbottom.
I'm just thinking there'll be people at the pub in Rottenstall. Well, you know, it's not a big deal for me, but I'm just thinking if there's people see the train and they go, oh, can I go to Ramsbottom or something? Then I don't know.
You'll have to go and buy a ticket. Thanks.
Right, thanks.
Alan Bibby's not on my screen, but he wants to say something. Alan, wherever you are.
What about residence permits? People wanting to buy a residence permit at £7.50, wanting to go through to Haywood, or just for the run, or go to Bury and get off, go to the market and come back again, and some of them do.
Shouldn't be a problem.
We sell the ticket as normal.
If there's space on the train, they can get on. If there's no space, they'll have to wait or get a refund.
Yeah, I think we've got to encourage people to stay at Ramsbottom and only go to Rottenstall if you go in there for a reason. And then that way we'll be able to bring people from Rottenstall into Ramsbottom and use it that way. But we have to be very careful that we don't end up with too many people at the wrong station when the last train is due to come back.
Sorry, I do apologise for coming in. When we sell that ticket, we have no idea how many are on at other stations up the line. You're going to put us in a very embarrassing position if we're not careful. I agree with Graham.
I think what we've said, Bob, because you've now got an extra coach on the steam, you should be okay. How many people do you normally get through the doors at Haywood?
Well, it varies.
You can't tell that.
An average of 30, 40 or 50 a day.
Right, well, let's a day, yeah. So you've got an extra coach on. If you spread those, so you're talking maybe one coach?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fine then. But let's just get the information passed between each station so we know exactly what we've got and exactly where people are.
Disaster. All right.
Thanks, folks. Let's just keep to the topic. I did call Alan Bibby. He's not on my screen. I'll come back to you, Steve, in a minute. I did call Alan Bibby. He's not on my screen, but can you speak up, Alan? Or has he gone? Oh, perhaps he's dropped out. About 20 people dropped out so far. So, Steve Hamlet, then you wanted to say something else then? Hello? Steve, you're muted. No, perhaps he can't hear me. Okay. All right, Steve, you want to say something?
Yes, just a comment. I was on the trains last weekend, and I'd just like to say a big thanks to all the people who relayed all the sleepers up there. It was a really, really smooth ride. So that was all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Yeah. There's a couple of other comments come through about the number of people travelling from Rottenstall to Ramsbottom. I don't think we know the answer to these questions, folks. If you want to look at them on chat, you can do so. It's going to be a very difficult time on Saturday and Sunday in particular, until we see what the demand is and what our capacity is. We're just going to have to work through it the best we can and be diplomatic and be helpful and hope that we can get through the 3 days of people coming to see us. Anybody else? No, nothing's coming up. We've had over an hour and a half, an hour and 36 minutes. I would like to say thank you to everybody.
Mike, I think you've got two people waiting to ask questions.
I don't know. Oh, they've just popped up. James Bottomley again, and then John Magoo. James first, please.
Only one query. You can probably educate me on the subject. So I appreciate the DMU is only 30 seats, but providing everyone's wearing a mask, social distancing, you can't social distance, can you? Because you're all sat in a seat. But providing everyone's wearing a mask, why is the limit on 30? Is it purely a bum has to be on a seat?
I don't think the bubble car will load that many, and we have to remember we've got to keep separate 1 meter plus, even if they're wearing a mask. So it's not as simple as that. So it's a number of people. The number of people in bubbles, so you've got a family of 4, that might be okay, but we don't know that at this stage. So it's a difficult one. So and we're not the same as the normal trains. So we've got to make sure that people maintain social distancing, wear a mask, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thanks for that, Jeff. John Lagu, I can't see you on my screen, but I believe you got a question.
I was just going to point out that the public websites under the timetable section still has the old the grey timetable rather than the revised grey timetable. It probably needs doing tomorrow earliest possible if possible.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's not going to be up there till tomorrow morning now.
Yeah, right. Just thought I'd point it out. Okay, thank you.
I'm not going to take any more questions. I think we've gone through a lot, and there's other points that could be raised. We could be talking all night, but I want to thank Tracy and Mike and Jeff and everybody who's contributed. Really, it's a very important time for us now as we reopen this weekend. We do need all your support. We do need all your help. We do need to be positive. We do need to be customer friendly. We do need to make sure that we, as successful as we can be this weekend, considering the fact it's pretty new to most of us running trains with the public there. We haven't done it since last November, October time, I think. It's a long while apart since we actually had public paying for fares on the train. The last one that I worked on, apart from last weekend, was the Halloween train at the end of October. And it's going to be a new experience this weekend. So thank you very much for attending. We will have another open forum in a couple of months' time. And good night to everybody. Thanks, Tracy and Mike and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's hope we have a good weekend.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Well, if you don't all log off, I shall close you all down. It's time to go, folks. Goodbye. Mark Roseberry, before you disappear, is there any chance of that tree being chopped? Or have you gone? No, he's not listening.
I am listening, Mike.
Oh, right.
I just have to unmute myself.
Yeah.
You heard about the tree up at
15 a quarter, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be done tomorrow.
It's going to be done. Good. I can put that down on my list. It's something on my list to be attended to. If it's going to be done, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay. Good night, everybody. I am going to end the meeting now.